Okay, everyone, this is my spoiler review of X-Men the Animated Series, Season 4, Episode 21, the finale of Season 4. Beyond Good and Evil Part 4, this is the end of this four-part saga. This originally came out November 25th, 1995. Hit that sub button on YouTube or follow along on TikTok because I will be reviewing the rest of this series and, of course, X-Men 97. And I have done all the episodes prior to this one as well, so you're going to want to watch that with your catch-up of the original show. So we're right where we left off in ancient Egypt, 1200 BC, and we are with Cable again. And I love his line when he's about to blow up the Lazarus chamber and he says, "This little health spa is history," which is exactly what it looks like. And we learn, even though Professor X was kidnapped along with Wolverine, who was trying to save him, Professor X smartly wore a homing device, considering that this could have happened. So Beast deducts that Cerebro and the Gray Mulkin can help find where they are. And it's funny when Cable and Beast go and use both of these machines, they do this at the same time but separately. So then when Cable figures it out and Beast figures it out, they're not in the same room. So Cable just leaves without the X-Men. He just goes on. He has no time to wait. Cable is a very impatient character, but you love him. But Apocalypse just watches all this and laughs because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. They destroy the Lazarus chamber because he is in the axis of time, so that does not affect him. That's what's preserving him. But this is an important little line because this sets up, at the end of the day, it still is huge they destroyed the Lazarus chamber, and he got too confident here, Apocalypse, because that will still be his undoing at the end. Now, as he has Wolverine kidnapped, it's the best thing to happen because then you can get some great Wolverine lines. And this one I'll never forget where he says, "What are you doing with her, you pile of dog puke?" Just great. And all of this is happening through these 4 episodes. Bishop is still stuck with this guy, Bender. I feel like Bishop is going through the worst torture of anybody in this saga. At least all the psychics who are kidnapped are at peace in their chamber. So we'll finally see Apocalypse's master plan revealed. And in true villain fashion, he will just speak it out loud, and how certain psychics can see into the future because the mind can transcend time. So an elemental balance of power of good and evil has always denied me final victory, he says, until now. So his plan was that he destroys these psychics, and that force of psychic energy they will release will stop the axis and time itself. So all the existence here in the world will die, and Apocalypse will recreate a universe in his own image. So as you're watching this, you can't help but think of Thanos and how similar he is to him, because Apocalypse has this master plan in his vision of a future here. He's more evil than Thanos in his philosophy, but it's so crazy later in the episode when we start to see his plan working and people on Earth are starting to disappear. It reminds you so much of the blip with Thanos, and it makes me think that if the live action MCU ever gets really far into the X-Men lore, they could really do Apocalypse as like their Thanos they fight off, because he is that big and he can be kind of the final blow they have to take down, where you lead into him through Magneto and Sinister, like this show did. But Magneto knew he was going to have ulterior motives, Apocalypse, so Magneto's plan was really just to let him get this far, see him reveal his plan, and then take over and live out his dream of a mutant-ruled world. But it wasn't the greatest plan. I don't think he was really smart enough to think that he'd be able to take down Apocalypse with just Mystique. And Sinister is just like, yeah, it was enticing, Apocalypse's plan, and it's a fool to betray him, so he just went along with it. But I don't know why he also assumed that Apocalypse would keep him along for the ride. But the magic of this episode comes when we get to see Magneto work with the X-Men and really get to see him work with Wolverine. He releases Wolverine to his shock, and we'll see they both save each other at one point. And Wolverine, when he saves Magneto, will say, "What am I, Charles Xavier now?" and vice versa, where Magneto catches Wolverine almost romantically and says, "What am I, an X-Men now?" I thought that was just great. I also like that when Bender finally reveals he built this location of Axis of Time to Bishop, Bishop goes, "So you're the janitor?" And he goes, "Please, I prefer the term custodial engineer." I thought that was great. But Bishop really just been hanging out, and he finally serves his true purpose here because he sees the psychics in the blue ring and starts shooting them, releases Psylocke, and then shoots more, and then people start coming back from being blipped, let's say. And Sinister says, "One small man defending the universe. If only he knew," talking about Bishop. But that's when Wolverine comes in and says, Two small men, Sinister. And Wolverine will destroy the orb that was controlling the psychics. And what's great is Cable just goes berserk here, takes down the whole place. And I love they had the psychics, led by Xavier, deliver the final blow to Apocalypse by having him sent outside the axis of time. And like I said, it was stupid of Apocalypse to underestimate how important it would be they still blew up that Lazarus chamber, because now when he goes out of the axis of time, he is vulnerable, and that's exactly what happens here. And I love, of course, seeing Emma Frost behind Xavier, who's really not much in this show, but it's always good to see her anywhere. And we get this crazy reveal that Bender reveals himself as a huge character in the Marvel lore as Immortus. So pretty cool that he was even in X-Men, the animated series. So we'll see the happy ending where Cyclops and Jean are reunited, and you just realize it's literally the worst honeymoon anyone could possibly have, from just being married and so happy to go through all that. But I guess that's the life of an X-Man. And you see Charles says to Magneto, "Did it feel so odd, Magnus, working together?" And he goes, "No, Charles. Perhaps if we could start the world over, it would be possible again." And that's interesting because that makes you think too about possible storylines everyone's theorizing about X-Men 97, and maybe that could be a story here where if we know Magneto is going to be part of X-Men 97, it looks like he's going to be leading the X-Men. Perhaps he tries to start the world over again and resurrecting Charles. We'll see if Charles is actually dead. And I like that it ended on a note where it's like Cable just wanting now to go back home to his son Tyler, and it's the week before he left, so he's time traveling again. It's just amazing send off because it all started this saga. It's a Cable story, really, and it ends with Cable, so I thought that was really nice. So I'm going to give this ending of this great saga, this great 4-episode series in X-Men the Animated Series, I'm going to give this episode 9 and give the whole series a 9. It was really, really strong and action-packed. This has to be the most action-packed sequence of episodes in the show ever. Really fun, and I'm really happy to have reviewed all 4 seasons so far, so I'm excited to jump into the last season, season 5, leading us into X-Men 97, which I'll also be reviewing, so make sure to hit that sub button. I can really use all the help I get on YouTube in particular, and follow along on TikTok, Spotify, Instagram, all the apps, and I'll see you next time.